But first, the talking points memo, the passage of the big bill, the tax and spend bill. So we always encourage you to watch this program with a pen and paper. So I'm going to throw a lot of stats at you. I'm going to do it slower than I usually. I don't read anything. This is all ad lib from me. But I usually talk at a clip that's pretty energetic. I'm going to slow it down because I want you to have this information. Because 80% of the press has absolutely lied right to your face. Man, when somebody lies to me, I don't know about you, but that's it. All right? Unless they come and apologize, they're done. I'm not going to deal with liars. And the press is outrageous, and I'll prove it tonight. Okay. Big bill. So the President of the United States signed it into law July 4th, 6:43 p.m. East Coast time. Roll it.
In a few moments, we're going to make official the greatest victory yet when I sign the one big, beautiful bill. And before I start, I want to tell you that I've never seen people so happy in our country because of that.
Some people, but most Americans have no blanket idea what's in the bill, and we are going to change that tonight. Okay, let's just methodically go through it. So within hours of the president signing the bill, a website called Politico, which is a liberal website, but it's a news website, okay, headlines this: Republicans just cut Medicaid. Will it cost them control of Congress? The headline is absolutely misleading, and misleading on purpose. It should say, Republicans just revised Medicaid. Didn't cut Medicaid. It revised it. But Politico doesn't want you to know that. It wants Democrats to regain control of Congress in 26, Politico does, and it wants to frighten you. It's what that website is in business to do. And there's no excuse for it. They know better. Okay? All right. So the main thing about Medicaid is this. The country is $36 trillion in debt. Medicaid is a charitable entitlement. It's not like Social Security and Medicare, where you pay into that. So the contract is we pay into it, and at the end of our lives, we get Medicare and Social Security checks, coverage. That's not Medicaid. Medicaid is you're poor, you can't afford a doctor or a hospital, the state will pick up much of your medical expense, and the federal government reimburses the state. All right. It is estimated that 9 million fewer people will be covered by Medicaid over the next decade. 9 million will be off the rolls. Why? Because this bill commands that anyone receiving Medicaid, able-bodied adult, no dependent children, has to look for work or volunteer at a charitable institution for 20 hours a week. Now, I work 60 hours a week. 20 hours, no heavy lift. But you have to do it. And if you don't do it, you're off the Medicaid rolls. Also, you have to twice a year report an accurate income figure to the federal government. So you can't game the system. So it's estimated that 9 million people will not do that. Who are those people? Drug addicts. Okay, they're living under a bridge somewhere. They're running around. They can't be bothered. They're high all the time. Alcoholics, same situation. Mentally ill. They don't know. They have no control of their lives. They don't know what this bill is. They don't know where to go. They don't know what to do. Okay? And basically scofflaw layabouts. So they're not going to do it. And they're gone. That saves over 10 years $1.3 trillion. We need to save it. So the layabouts and the drug addicts, the alcoholics, they don't get it. They can still go to any hospital in the country's emergency room and get treated. That's the law. So the hospitals don't like this at all. They don't like any of this because they know more people are going to come in for free treatment and hospitals want to make money. Okay. I did not know this. 40 states out of 50 have no Medicaid regulations at all. You can be the worst drug addict in the world, you get your Medicaid payment. You don't have to do a thing. 40 out of 50. No more. Federal government is not going to reimburse unless that is on the books. And they're gonna be an apparatus to keep track of those people. Where'd you go? Who'd you see? Where you're volunteering? Whatever. Finally, there is a medical exemption. Now, you can't work, you can't look for work, whatever it may be, you're exempted. This is a good, solid bill for the country. All right. Now, when you have 100 million Americans out of 340 million receiving some kind of government assistance, you got a welfare state. That leads to a decline of society. 100 million people receive some kind of government largesse. It's crazy. Now, that is up 113% in 10 years. We are becoming a welfare state, thanks to the Democratic Party and the progressive philosophy. Give everybody anything they want. And you heard it, you hear it every blanking day. Okay? That is an astronomical rise. It's bankrupting the United States. And a lot of those people are gaming the system. You know it. I know it. Everybody, the states, the 40 out of 50, they're gaming the system. Why should they care whether there's regulations? The feds reimburse. And then the states slap on taxes as high as 6% on all Medicaid payments. So the state gets money. They say to the federal government, you got to reimburse us 6% because we're taxing it. And Trump goes, no, we're going to cap it at 3.5. So the states, they're going to lose 2.5% on all Medicaid payments that they tax. You see the game? You see the con? Of course, they don't like it. All right. Any questions? Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com. But I think I've run it down pretty effectively. You don't understand it, I can't come to your house. Okay? But every stat I gave you is in stone. We are becoming a welfare state. Now on the tax side, okay? Tax cuts. There are no cuts. Not one cut. This is an extension of the 2017 Trump tax bill. The brackets stay the same. Okay? The top bracket is, I think, 38%. Okay, very few people are in the top bracket, but that's the top bracket. 40% of American homes pay no income tax at all, not a dime to the feds. Almost half the country pays not one dime. The other 60%, people like you, people like me, who work our butts off, we're paying all the taxes. Okay? Now, they'll tell you the billionaires aren't paying taxes. Yeah, they are. Okay? But they have so much money, they don't even care. I don't have any sympathy for billionaires, but let's be honest in our assessment here. So at this point, the federal government takes in $5 trillion from us, we the taxpayers, $5 trillion. But they spend $7 trillion. Government sends $7 trillion a year, so they're in the hole for $2 trillion every year, which is why we have a $36 trillion debt and rising. We got to get that down to an even parity. That's why you're seeing all of these things. Trump administration believes by keeping the tax rates the same, that more people will prosper, will have more cash, more people will work, business will expand because there are some new business deductions in here, and they'll hire more people, so tax money will flow, more tax money. That's the theory. And it works. If you look at the historical amount of money coming into the federal government. So, all of this tax breaks for the rich, billionaires, it's all a lie. It's cooked up by the progressive left and the Democratic Party because that's all they got. A lot of these progressives are socialists. They want the government to control the economy. They don't want a free economy. You keep that in mind. And that's a memo. All right, so let me go. I'm going to do 4 reactions to the passage of this bill. The first is the socialist, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Go.
This is the largest withdrawal and ending of health care in American history. 17 million people in our country, 17 million Americans in our country are going to lose their Medicaid. They're going to lose their ACA insurance.
No, they're not going to lose it if they comply with the rules. Okay? Now, Ocasio-Cortez wants socialized medicine. Again, that's something you have to understand. Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Cortez, they want the government to pay all health costs for everybody. That's what they want, okay? And that would bankrupt the system so that they'd have to pay, instead of a 38% top income tax, it would have to be 65% to cover that. Because remember, 40% don't pay any of the American homes. So you'd have to raise that level from 38 to 65 to even come close to covering the government covering health care costs. But that's what they want. Punish achievement. They don't like people who have a lot of money. All right, so that's Ocasio-Cortez. Now we got Erin Burnett. Erin Burnett is a 7 o'clock anchor on CNN, and she's an avowed liberal. All right, go.
It's very clear about how many people are going to be kicked off of health care until you were against the CBO.
No, ma'am. You listen. If you want to do the editorial, just go ahead, and you don't need me on here.
Good for him. Okay, kicked off health care. Yeah, if you don't look for work, I guess you got a problem with that, Aaron, huh? Whew. Third, MSNBC, the most radical left news organization in the country. Go.
He'll be signing into law a bill that virtually everyone on Capitol Hill either openly or tacitly admits is a piece of garbage. I mean, its fundamental structure, like the big things it does, is hand out tax cuts to the very wealthy and to corporations and cuts nearly $1 trillion with a T out of Medicaid over the next decade.
Okay. Very wealthy corporations. They hate corporations, by the way, these people, even though corporations pay health costs for their employees. They're so stupid, it's painful. Okay. So the corporate tax rate is 21%. Stays the same. They didn't cut it. But the socialists wanted 50%. And of course, that would mean that the corporations let fire all these people because capitalism dictates corporations are in this to make money. Socialists don't want that. All right. You can write off a few things under this bill you couldn't, and that's what they're seizing on, the socialists. The final one is Congressman Robert Garcia of California. Go.
First, this bill is horrific for the American public, and certainly it is crazy that you would have Republicans in competitive districts voting to rip away health care, rip away food assistance, so that they can give huge tax breaks to billionaires.
That is the biggest lie I think I've heard. Nobody's ripping anything away from anybody. And of course, NBC's Meet the Press, no pushback on that. Say whatever you want. All right. I just threw this in because those of us in very heavily taxed states like New York, where I am, we had to pay Fed and state income tax. Now, there's a break in there up to $40,000 that you can write off for your state income tax for high earners. But here are the states that have the highest income taxes. This is just state. California, Hawaii, New York, New Jersey, Oregon, Minnesota, Massachusetts, Vermont, Wisconsin, Maine. What do all of those states have in common? What do all of them have in common? They're all liberal states run by the Democratic machine. Every one of them. Wisconsin is, close, but it's left. They just want to take money away from the achievers and give it to the have-nots. That's it.